In the heart of the warring state, a cry tore through the night, sharp and defiant against the roar of flames. A young woman, her face smudged with soot and fear, clutched a newborn to her chest as she fled through the labyrinthine streets of a city under siege. Armored riders thundered past, their blades hungry for the blood of an enemy prince's child. That baby's cry, a sound of raw, untamed life amidst the chaos of a burning world, was a promise. It was the first utterance of Ying Zheng, the boy who would silence the cries of war by becoming Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. This is not just a story of a king. It is the saga of how an empire was forged from the ashes of a child's desperate flight. The year was 259 BC, a time when the land was fractured and bleeding. The Warring States period had torn the world into 7 rival kingdoms, each clawing for supremacy. Among them, the state of Qin, disciplined and relentless, was a rising storm in the west. Its ambition was a promise of either unification or annihilation, and the other 6 kingdoms, Xiao, Xia Wei Yan, and Qi, watched with a mixture of terror and defiance. Far from the safety of his homeland, a minor Qin prince named Ying Zheng lived a gilded cage existence as a political hostage in the capital of the enemy state of Zhao. His presence was a fragile guarantee of peace, a promise that was broken as often as it was made. Yet, within this precarious exile, destiny wove an unexpected thread. In the opulent but treacherous court of Zhao, Zheng met Lady Zhao Ji, a dancer whose beauty was matched only by her sharp wit and piercing intelligence. Theirs was a love born in the shadow of political animosity, a dangerous affair that defied the simmering hatred between their states. From this forbidden union, a child was born. Ying Zheng? His birth was a secret whispered in the dark, a spark of life in a world consumed by death. But when the fragile peace shattered and the armies of Qin and Zhao clashed once more, the infant became a catastrophic liability. To the people of Zhao, he was the cursed offspring of their enemy. To the court of Qin, he was a forgotten pawn in a distant land. His very existence was a death sentence. Hiding her son in the city's forgotten corners, Lady Zhao Ji shielded him from the storm. By the flickering light of a single oil lamp, she would cradle him, her whispers a shield against the world's cruelty. "My son," she would murmur, her voice a fragile anchor in the chaos. "The world is a cruel place now, but you will not be broken by it. You will grow strong. One day, you will return to your true home, and you will make this broken world bow before you." Her words were not just a mother's comfort. They were a prophecy, planting a seed of unyielding ambition in the heart of a child born of war. Years crawled by, marked by the ever-present threat of discovery and the distant drums of war. As hope dwindled, an unlikely savior appeared in Henan. Elbawei was not a warrior or a nobleman, but a merchant of immense wealth and even greater ambition. He saw the world not as a battlefield of armies, but as a marketplace of opportunities, where power was the ultimate commodity. In the exiled prince and his forgotten son, Elbawei saw an investment of unparalleled potential, the chance to purchase a kingdom. With meticulous cunning and a fortune in bribes, he engineered a daring escape, smuggling Lady Zhao Ji and the young Ying Zheng out from under the watchful eyes of Zhao, and spiriting them back to the Qin heartland. Presenting the boy to the astonished Qin court, Elbawei declared, "Behold the heir of Prince Yan, the true blood of Qin. Born in exile, but returned by fate. He is the future of our kingdom and must be protected at all costs." His audacious gamble paid off. The young boy and his mother were welcomed into the sprawling, formidable Qin capital of Xianyang. Here, Ying Zheng traded the squalor of a fugitive life for the cold marble and gilded halls of the royal palace. But safety was an illusion. The court was a viper's nest of intrigue, where nobles schemed in shadowed alcoves and generals whispered of betrayal over wine. Even as a child, Ying Zheng learned that power was both a coveted crown and a cursed burden, and that every smile could hide a dagger. In the quiet solitude of night, the young prince would often stand on the highest palace terrace, gazing down at the flickering torches of the city below. The world seemed so vast, so full of endless, senseless conflict. Why must men fight? He once asked his mother, his voice small against the immensity of the night sky. "Because every man believes the world belongs to him alone," she answered, her gaze distant and hard. The boy fell silent, but a word settled deep within his soul. He looked out at the divided lands beyond the city walls and made a silent, ferocious vow. One day, the world would not belong to many men. It would belong to him. When Ying Zheng was just 13, destiny struck again with the sudden death of the king of Qin. In the cavernous, torchlit, grand hall of Xianyang Palace, the boy was thrust onto the dragon throne. Before the assembled court of stern-faced generals and calculating ministers, he was crowned king of Qin. Yet, he was a king in name only. His mother, the now powerful Queen Dowager, and her confidant, the newly appointed Chancellor El Bouwei, stood behind the throne like twin shadows, wielding the true power of the state. They saw him as a puppet, a symbol to be manipulated while they pursued their own ambitions. But Ying Zheng was no one's pawn. He watched, he listened, and he learned. Every secret alliance, every thinly veiled threat, every whispered lie, he absorbed them all, forging them into an armor of cold resolve. He was a silent apprentice in the art of power, his mind a razor-sharp weapon being honed in the fires of courtly intrigue. He dedicated himself to a relentless regimen of self-improvement. At dawn, he trained with the sword masters, his body becoming as disciplined as his mind. At dusk, he immersed himself in the labyrinthine laws of the state, and through long, sleepless nights, he devoured the ancient texts on strategy and warfare. The frightened child who had once cried in the smoldering ruins of Handan was methodically remaking himself into a force the world had never seen. One night a violent tempest descended upon Xianyang, as if nature itself were mirroring the turmoil in the young king's soul. Thunder cracked, like the sky breaking apart, and lightning threw the world into stark, momentary relief. While the court cowered in their chambers, Ying Zheng stood alone on the highest rampart of the city walls, his black silk cloak whipping furiously in the wind. He stared out into the storm-lashed darkness, seeing not just rain and lightning, but the vast, fractured continent of the seven kingdoms of land, drowning in blood, ambition, and greed. Then, with a voice that defied the storm's roar, he raised his ceremonial sword toward the heavens. Heaven and earth, bear witness to my oath, he shouted, his words a challenge to the gods themselves. This age of chaos will end. I will unite all under heaven under a single rule. There will be no more seven kingdoms, no more endless war. There will be only one nation, one emperor, and one Qin. At that exact moment, a bolt of lightning seared across the sky, illuminating his face in a flash of blinding white. The light revealed not the face of a boy, but the unyielding, terrible visage of an emperor. In that instant, the child was gone forever. In the silent, ornate halls below, the courtiers shivered, whispering of ill omens, and the young king's terrifying ambition. Some feared his growing power, others plotted new ways to control him, but none of them could possibly comprehend the fire that now burned within him. It was a will forged in exile, tempered by betrayal and fueled by a singular, unshakable vision. Ying Zheng had witnessed the true cost of a divided world: the chaos, the suffering, the relentless hunger for power that tore families and nations apart. He had seen the weakness of others, and he had sworn an oath to the storm that he would never be weak again. He would not just rule, he would conquer. He would crush the rival states, silence the cacophony of war, and forge a new world from the shards of the old. He would build an empire eternal, and carve his name into the very fabric of time. From the ashes of a war-torn childhood, a legend was awakening. He was a child of exile who became a king of shadows, a ruler chosen not by the gods, but by his own indomitable will. The infant who once cried in the burning streets of Handan was now on the cusp of commanding armies of millions. And soon, the world would learn to tremble at the name Qin Shi Huang. But that day had not yet come. Beyond the walls of his palace, 6 rival kingdoms still stood, their own ambitions burning bright, each one ready to resent fall before the coming storm. The age of blood and steel was about to begin.